Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Fires upfield into the end zone, and it's caught. Jelani Woods, touchdown! INDY!
Yes.
43-point night for Tyrese Halliburton.
How do you like that, partner?
Renew now, drives in low, throws up a shot. It doesn't go. Tipped up and in by Anthony Leal. Indiana takes the lead.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
Now, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard to another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Friday, a very, very rainy Friday, but that's okay. Plenty of things to get to and talk about, and guests on the program today. I believe Casey Bartley will be joining us, in addition to Zach Osterman. Rick Bozich, maybe? I'm not sure, John. I forgot about that one.
Rick Bozich in the second hour.
And then, of course, Christian Watford is supposed to join us as well in the second hour as to talk about Indiana's new TBT team. And we'll talk to Rick about what's going on. He's been out at the Derby, out at Churchill Downs all week, which is where I planned on coming from today. But it's too much rain. Didn't stop all morning. And so I'm like, that's kind of pointless. But Alex Hemingway has a visit scheduled to come to Indiana as well next week. So lots to get to and talk about. How are things going in your world? I can't see the comments. So, John, you're going to have to pop those, man. And don't forget, Indiana Sports.
Be cycling through.
Indiana Sports Beat Radio, powered by Andy Moore Honda. Just go to andymorehonda.com and get more to your door and the best in new and used vehicles and the Autograph app. You can download the Autograph app in Google Play or Apple Store today. And get Unreal rewards for your Unreal fandom. Just go to link.ag.fan/ISB media and make sure you get that downloaded. How's everybody doing today? What's up with John?
I'll tell you what, here, let me go ahead. I'm going to turn my camera on here for this. Yeah, we got a busy day today, obviously. I'm located down in Louisville where Churchill Downs is in Oaks Day and Derby Day. And I don't know what it is about the Oaks, but something about it always being rainy on the Friday before the Derby. It just seems like it is one of the most consistent traditions in Churchill Downs and horse racing, whatever you want to call it. It seems like it's always rainy the day before Derby, if you ask me.
Yeah, well, the day before that, it was hot as I heard. So a hot day at the track yesterday.
Yeah, very hot day at the track. Another big piece of news last night that we've yet to touch on. I know we're just early into the show, but the Pacers, they took down the Bucks in Game 6, and they will face the Knicks in a 7-game series.
Yeah, OG Anunoby and the Knicks will be coming to town next to take on the Indiana Pacers as they get their first series win in a decade. So that's especially for a program that is or a franchise, I should say, that has a lot of young pieces, man. They got a lot of the future looks bright for the Indiana Pacers and the Indiana Fever. Another young bunch of young pieces on that franchise as well, with Alea Boston and now Caitlin Clark. So lots of good things in Indy.
Yeah, it feels like we're just a year or two removed from feeling like the Pacers were just trying to tank. I remember last year we talked about them trying to just put their season on hold to go for Victor Wembanyama. Obviously, that was not in their plans, and they've been building around Tyrese Halliburton, and so far it's paying off. I mean, they're one series away from being in the Eastern Conference Finals, potentially facing the Boston Celtics, who are the heavy favorite in this year's Eastern Conference.
Yeah, and Kristaps Porzingis, he has been hurt. I think he's back for the Celtics now, but this harkens back to the days, man, of Reggie and Spike Lee with the Pacers and the Knicks series, going back to the good old days when Reggie Miller scored was it 9 points in 8 minutes or something?
Yeah. It may even less than that.
I mean, 8 seconds, rather. 8 seconds.
I was going to say 8 minutes seemed a little lengthy for that.
Yeah, 8 seconds.
Fred wants to know, Jim, if you're starting a garage band. He notices the garage door behind you.
No, it's just an area where, they use garage doors to easier access into the area where I am right now. But no, we have garage sale, garage band, Trying to think of anything else. But nope, no
Kent
garage
says
sales
good
over there on
morning
Span.
Kent says good morning from rainy Mount Pleasant, Michigan. Obviously raining kind of all over the place. It feels like in the Midwest. David, good morning from Dagonia Springs. And then I know we're talking TBT. Philip asks Oladipo, will he be on the TBT team? I don't know if we know anything about that right now, do we?
I would highly doubt that, since the reason he's not playing right now has been because of injury, I believe. So
Yeah.
I would highly doubt you're going to see Victor Oladipo on that squad. It will be interesting to see whom else will be, though. Like I said, Juwan Morgan, not that far removed from the NBA. Troy Williams, probably a few years. And, of course, Miller Kopp, fresh off of a G League championship. I'm sure there's guys playing in Europe that they're going to either be reaching out to, or guys that just finished and aren't really playing anywhere right now. So it's going to be interesting to see who all fills that roster out. But it's just going to be fun. What a great event for the state of Indiana, period. Again, like I said yesterday, teams from Butler, Purdue, and Indiana now. So that will be a more basketball in the summer. Can't believe it. We've got basketball this month on the AAU side of things, with another event coming up in Indianapolis in, is it 1 week or 2? I can't even remember. But it's coming up soon. And then the All-Stars in June. And then the TBT in July. So it's pretty much year-round in Indiana. That is without an argument there.
So the Assembly Ball will play its first game in the TBT on Friday, July 19th. And apparently you can already buy tickets for it. That game will be at 8 p.m. And then the bracket for this year's TBT will be revealed on Thursday, June 20th. So we still got about a month and a half or so before we get all the details. And then obviously in the coming weeks, we'll find out who ends up being on the roster. And plus, we're going to talk with Christian Watford later on in the show, and he'll have plenty of things to explain about.
Yeah, you should have the flyer that we can post up there, I believe, that has that information on it, as far as dates and times and places where you can get tickets. I'm going to be shocked if there should be a pretty good crowd for this. I mean, a really good crowd. This should be the best-selling regional that they have. There's no way you have one, first of all, at the historic Hinkle Fieldhouse, and then you add in the 3 teams from Indiana that are added. Like I said, the only thing missing is a team from Notre Dame when you have the old Crossroads Classic.
I know. And I feel like Notre Dame has had, maybe they haven't had teams before. I know there have been some interesting offshoot alumni teams like Marquette. They've historically had an alumni team. So you never know. Maybe Notre Dame puts one together as they see Indiana, Purdue, and Butler putting stuff in the works.
Absolutely. I did not get a chance to watch the Pacers game last night. So you're going to have to fill me in on that.
Yes,
Pascal Siakam and crew and Tyrese Halliburton, they got the job done. I know that.
Yeah, Pacers win 120-98. Damian Lillard, in his game back from injury for the Bucks, scored 28 points, and TJ McConnell was the high point man for the Pacers. And again, like I said earlier, they'll go on to face the Knicks. They beat the 76ers 118-115, and that's about the extent of what I can provide as well. I've been
close series, but the Pacers are able to get that locked out without Giannis Antetokounmpo coming back, which I'm sure that's going to leave the owners of Milwaukee just beside themselves. They like we talked about, I think it was yesterday, they fired one coach who had a good record and brought in Doc Rivers, and things have not gone like they had hoped that they would go, man. They losing or getting beat in the first round of the playoffs is not what they had in mind, I'm quite certain. But the Pacers had beaten Milwaukee during the regular season like 4 or 5-1, so this was not exactly a shock, but probably a shock to everybody in Milwaukee.
Yeah, it's interesting the amount of firings that the Bucks have done. When I feel like the talking points when it comes to head coaches in the NBA, I feel like it's not as big of a deal who your head coach is at this level of basketball as it is in something like college basketball, because the talent is so much more elite, especially when you have a group of guys who have won an NBA championship. Not everybody, obviously, but it feels like you shouldn't have to keep cycling through this many people to figure it out if you're Milwaukee.
Well, you shouldn't, because they probably already had the guy and fired him unnecessarily.
Yeah.
And that's where it starts. And so then you start just peeling through things and you're going for the wrong reason. Charles Barkley was talking about the other night that whether you're talking about the coach of the Lakers or I think it's the coach of the Suns, he goes, the problems that these teams are having has nothing to do with these coaches. He said, it's the players. So you've got to have great players and good players. It doesn't matter how good your coaching is, if not, to get the job done pretty much at any level. But that includes the NBA.
And obviously, Pacers fans, I feel like there's no reason they shouldn't be pleased at this point with the results they've gotten. Obviously, beating the Knicks in a 7-game series would kind of be the cherry on top. And at that point, you're just kind of riding the wave of momentum and seeing how far it can take you if you make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. So Pacers fans have plenty of things to be excited about, it seems. You got your series with the Knicks coming up. And again, you'll get to see OG Anunoby play in Indianapolis a few times if you're a Hoosier fan.
Absolutely. And for Indiana fans, you've got a visit coming from Alex Hemingway. It's hard to not say Hemingway.
I know, it's very, like Hemingway's whiskey. But that's the incorrect way.
Yeah. Say that again?
So Hemingway, I was saying, like, it makes you want to say Hemingway's whiskey, but it's not that. It makes you think of Hemingway's whiskey. I
was thinking more about the writer.
Oh, like, is that Ernest Hemingway? Who am I thinking?
That'd be the one.
Okay. But funny, didn't Hemingway? He was famous for drinking, and
yes,
that's how he would get his ideas, though.
Well, I think that you're not too far off from that. Not too far off from that. So that's pretty close to the deal. Yeah, he was a character, but they all were. I think we've got to take a break. We've got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Autograph app. Just go to John, what is it again? Without seeing it, I forgot.
I'll pull it right up there for you. Here we go. We got link.ag.fan/ISB media.
There we go. I have it memorized, but when I don't see it, it's weird how it just jumps out of your head. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
In the market.
I cannot believe that I can't get connected here. Who's supposed to be up next?
So Casey's going to come on. I initially put him at 9:10, but I did tell him he could do 8:50 if he'd rather get it out of the way, and he didn't respond to that message, so he may just do 9:10.
I don't know why I can't see this chat. See, every time
Oh, whoops. Why is Jim in a garage better than Arby's? I tell you, I couldn't imagine doing a show in any fast food establishment. You back?
Yeah.
There we go.
And
I realized I screwed up earlier reading somebody's comment about what time of day it was. I was like,
yeah, I'm sorry.
That's something that I'm yet to. I don't think about it because I'm not usually talking about what day it is or what time it is. Oh man, did you do a show from an Arby's? Somebody commented here. Why is Jim in a garage better than Arby's?
Not that I recall.
Oh.
What are you talking about? I'd rather be at Arby's.
What is their? Oh yeah, we have the meats. That's their slogan.
Man, they got some good sandwiches. What are you talking about?
Where'd you do the show last Friday? Was that at a McDonald's or something?
Oh, that's right. When I was going to that event,
Yeah.
the basketball event.
I'm going to pull up Oaks and Derby horse names. And that's something we can. I can talk about odds if I can. They can get me if I can get them. If I can get them pulled up. Here we go.
Not very long. Nobody's paying attention to that, unfortunately.
Oh, that's fine. This is something we can do to fill time if you don't know what else to talk about.
Now, who's coming up?
This segment's empty. The rest are filled.
All right, for the rest of the day?
Yeah. This is the last open segment.
Cannot believe this laptop will not connect. I have got strong 4 bars, 5 bars.
Here we go.
To make a gourmet meal at home, or pick out a tomahawk steak or a grouper filet and enjoy it cooked to perfection in Chop Shop Steakhouse. Chop Shop, Market and Table, a part of the Wild Food Group, is your butcher, baker, and fish house, no matter where you live.
This segment is brought to you by the Chop Shop, home of the Indiana football and men's basketball coaches shows. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Friday. Kind of rainy in a lot of parts. Rainy here, that's for certain. I have not looked at the radar, but I think it must have been a big line of showers because it was a long night-long soaker. I could hear it all night long, which it was pleasant every time you'd wake up and hear that. But it also, I knew quickly, I'm like, things are not looking good for the show. So we had planned on doing the show from Churchill Downs today, but with all that rain, not going to fight that. So today is Oaks Day at Churchill Downs, the day that before the Kentucky Derby. It is the 150th running of the Kentucky Derby. That's a milestone. As a matter of fact, well, for the Indianapolis 500, what it was be like the 107th or something coming up. So it gives you some perspective on how long that race has been going on, man. That's a long time, 150 years.
So if it's 2024, that means the first Kentucky Derby would have been in 1980 or 1884. 1884.
I mean, I was thinking 1886 somewhere,
or maybe
but
1874, something along those lines.
It's in the 1800s without question, which is amazing that we're talking about a sporting event that began in the 1800s. It is amazing how much it's grown, how big it is, and the fact that I've talked about this earlier this week. The two of the largest sporting events in the world, one of which is the largest sporting event in the world that I'm aware of, the Indianapolis 500, from a spectator standpoint, with over 330,000 people in attendance. You're going to have 175,000 here, so that's 500,000 people at these two sporting events. 500,000 people. That's one of the largest.
It blows
cities
my mind, especially with the Indianapolis 500. How large the track is, the amount of stands that there are. I know there's people who are in the infield as well, similar to Churchill Downs. I've never been to the Indy 500, so it's interesting hearing your perspective on what makes it such a massive event. Is, again, just tradition, and it's been kind of like Churchill Downs in the Derby, how it's just been around for so long and it's attracted so many people over the years that it's just always going to be that big of a deal.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that tradition, it starts a big part of it, but it can hold that many people, for one thing. There's few places that can have that many people, for one thing. It's a 2.5 mile track, which means you could set Churchill Downs inside of it a couple times.
That's nuts.
Which is mind-boggling. I mean, they have a 9-hole or parts of a 9-hole golf course on the infield of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So it's the stands that go all the way around from the far turn 2 and turn 3, and then from then on, that's the only places that aren't connected is the backstretch, and that's just a lot of people, man. 330. It's hard to even fathom that. As we've had Greg Rakestraw point out that I forget what he said, what the largest city it becomes at that time, but it becomes one of the largest
like that.
cities in the country, and so it's mind-boggling. But it's also it takes a lot longer. As far as the Derby itself is one race, and boom, it's over. Although they have a card full of races all day long for things to do, for people to be there, so they can have them there spending their money and yada yada. But the Indianapolis 500 is just one event that is going on the whole time.
Huh. Well, that's impressive. I know they've always got musical acts in the Snake Pit. You've talked to me about that before. And did you see the Rolling Stones in the Snake Pit years ago, or am I dreaming? You said something.
That is not me. That was not me. I do not know that has ever happened.
Did you see them at the Indy 500, or did you see them at Churchill Downs?
I did see them at both places, actually.
Okay.
I saw
That's what
Rolling
I'm thinking
Stones,
of then.
which is ironic. Yeah, I've seen the Rolling Stones at perform at Churchill Downs and at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which is that's kind of unique. Crazy if you think about it.
Yeah, no, there's very few acts that probably have the ability to play in venues like that.
And Churchill, I don't know why, but they've only done it twice. They did it like 2 years in a row. They had Sting and the Police one year, and then the next year they had the Stones, and then nothing since, which I thought it was, what do I know? But I mean, I thought that they were successful. Alice Cooper opened up for the Rolling Stones back in when I saw them at Churchill Downs. So
it could be one of those things that just because of the nature of the venue, that it's tough to get a bunch of equipment into something that isn't necessarily meant to hold a concert, even though it has the capacity to do so. Who knows? Yeah,
they haven't done it at Indianapolis, to my knowledge, either, but they could easily there with the stage that they get set up. So it'd be interesting to see if they don't do more. But and don't forget, speaking of which, the concert series that's coming up at right behind the Ugly Grouper, that I did find out Clayton Anderson will be playing in this. They're just getting a date set up, but there you go. There's the Rusty Gators Summer Concert Series at Hart Commons, which is just a nice area right there behind where the Rusty Gator is in Bedford. If you're going to be in that area or in the area, so it gives you something to do this summer. When's the first concert there, John? I can't read it.
Believe Friday, May 3rd, you get Bourbon Britches and Larry Summerton, and then the following day we have the Justin Case Band and Dark Hollow Duo.
That's this weekend. That's tonight.
Oh my God, that is tonight. Sometimes when you're reading dates, it's hard to realize what the actual day is.
Say I'm on it. Yeah, so that's tonight and tomorrow night. Gives you something to do right there if you're in that area right there.
$10 cover charge, and you get to see both shows.
Oh, really?
Yes, is what it says on our flyer here.
For both days?
That's a good question. I don't know if it means two shows, including means the two acts for the day, or if it means both days. It's a good question.
It is a very, very good question. We'll have to
either
find
way,
out.
though, it's a good deal.
It's a great deal. Great deal. It's a cool place. The bar itself is a really old school bar. Very cool. Very cool. I know fans are looking forward to Alex Hemingway, a visit. I like his game. I'm telling you, I really like his game. He can shoot the 3-point ball. He is a get after it type athlete, but he's got some height and length so he can get up and shoot over you. He will also try to take it to the rim and dunk on you. He is he's an athlete, and he's from Newburgh, Indiana, so he got passed by the previous staff, which amazes me. He ends up going to Clemson, which I remember when that happened, I just shook my head. I go, how do you let guys like that out of the state? And then they did not have what they needed as far as firepower. So I would like to ask, that's a question. See, those are the questions that I would love to be able to ask coaches, but you don't ever get to do that. Because that's what everyone would love to know. Why did you do this? Why would you do this? What in the world was going on that allowed you to think that was a smart idea?
Well, Luke Goody's another example. I know Indiana's already landed him, but he's another example of somebody who decided to go out of the state for a while.
Man, you could take a sheet of paper and almost fill it up with guys that were passed up that it's beyond me. I have no clue why the first time around they were passed on. And it didn't work out. I can tell you that, because that person is already been out of a job once, and checking out their record at Rhode Island, probably be out of a job again in another year or so, I would imagine.
Yes.
But
Lil Rhodey is not on the path he thought he was on.
No. But when you just, I just think he relied on other people for talent, either because he was either too lazy to go find it or wasn't good enough to recognize it. Not sure about that, but either way, it happened, and good players were allowed to escape the state, to escape the program. Trey Kaufman-Wren, he was one that just decided I'm not going to go play for that. That's a guy that Indiana lost during that time as well. The amount of talent that was lost during that regime is mind-boggling, but it's completely understandable with how things were going on. But that's a whole nother deal. Things are in a much more powered or positive fashion at this moment. The Indiana team is looking to be completely loaded for next year, and they're not done. Well,
let me ask you this, Jim, because this is something that I know we talked about as being an issue last year. Even though you look at Indiana's roster right now, and it seems like no matter who you ask, people think that like they've got the pieces that they need to be successful, a top 10, top 15 team. They still have 2 open scholarships left. Let's just say Alex Hemingway or somebody else takes one of those 2 scholarships, and they decide to leave the final one open because they don't have anybody. Let's just say that they're out of NIL money or out of a substantial amount.
They need a backup big. You've got to have a backup big. You've got to land somebody that's a backup big.
I agree with you.
I mean, they have no choice there.
Now, what if let's just say that let's say they don't fill that spot with Hemingway and it's somebody like Langdon Hatton, and instead, so you do fill up that backup big position. Do you think at that point they need to fill that final scholarship if you fill it with Hatton or somebody that's a big first?
I mean, it's very possible just because of what they have on the bench, but again, you can never be deep enough. And from a practice standpoint, iron sharpens iron. The better players you have to practice against, pushing each other, that just makes you better. And so they give you have that amount of scholarships for a reason, and to not use them, I think is wrong.
I agree. And again, you don't have to find somebody in the portal who has to be a difference maker at this point. Or you can even find a straggling freshman. I hate to say it like that. Find somebody who maybe has been under-recruited and hasn't committed yet and just have them fill a spot. But again, in the air, one thing that I feel like is difficult to wrap my mind around is how NIL plays a factor with every single person. And maybe if you're just out of NIL money, and I don't know what Indiana's situation is, obviously, but if you're low on it based on what you've already committed to certain guys, I could see why it would be difficult to even get some of the less impactful players to commit, because if they're coming strictly for the money, but you're potentially out of it already, and you're also not going to get playing time, I can see why it might be difficult to fill those last couple of spots, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it is. And they're in a tough position because it's not like they're going to go get guys that can't bring something to the table.
Yeah.
And if you're someone that can bring something to the table, you're going to walk away with something. And now they are put themselves in a position where all 13 guys are going to be quote unquote on the payroll. And where before, maybe the last 4 were not really a big NIL drain. That's not the case
Folks
right
like
now.
a Caleb Banks or a CJ Gunn, like the guys who jumped in the portal, I'm assuming, potentially.
Right. But that's not the case now. They have guys across the board that there are going to be expectations of.
And that'll be interesting, especially, college basketball is going to be so exciting next year, especially in this region of the country, when you have brand new rosters for Louisville and Kentucky, also brand new head coaches. You'll potentially play against that Louisville team once again down in the Bahamas for the battle for Atlantis, and that'll be an interesting competition to see Indiana play in general, no matter who you face. So it's going to be an interesting season next year for sure.
Well, and Kentucky has done a fine job of they brought in Kobe Brea. They have landed some big time players. Louisville has been landing players. Pat Kelsey's been pulling guys in. So they're not going to be long to being back onto the court as successful. Kentucky, they're not going to be long to be back successfully onto the court. And it's going to be in Indiana as well. Now it's just timing for this Kentucky-Indiana series restarting. So that's good to see that things are going to be on more of an even keel, I think, an even ground. And it's going to make that rivalry and that series all the more impactful. So looking forward to that. And I think it's time to take a break. So we've got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friend Cheryl Sizemore and Remax Realty. For those in the market for a home in the Indianapolis area, her 2 decades of experience could be the difference in getting the home you want or not. Reach out to her, Cheryl, at IndyHomePros.com. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're looking for
Indiana Sports Beat Rodeo, I think that sounds
Almost
like
said
an
it.
event you need to coin that.
Almost said it.
How's it going?
It's going.
Almost said it.
Real quick, Jim. So I know we started a few minutes late, and Casey told me earlier that he needs to be out by 9:25. So when you let him go, we won't break immediately. We'll have to go a little bit longer, but just wanted to put that in your mind real quick.
Cool.
Yeah, sorry about being MIA for so long. I've been out of it since after the season.
Tell me about it. I wish I was out of it. I've it's been nonstop, wearing me out.
Yeah.
I did see Dub last week.
Oh, did you? Where at?
Pacers Athletic Center.
Oh, nice. Nice. Now I'm headed down to talk to the superintendent at Ackerman Camping because they're hosting regionals next week for golf.
Nice. Will you go to the TBT thing this summer?
Maybe. I always plan to, and then there's always something going on with football usually, and it's like, eh. Does IU have a team in that?
They do.
Yeah.
Did you guys, is this their first year? Or were they?
It
is.
Okay.
They tried putting one together last year, but it didn't come to fruition.
Yeah, I know the guy who puts Purdue's together, and it sounds like a good 4-month headache for him every year.
Yeah, that sounds like these things are just a pain in the butt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it takes a lot of fundraising, and like the guys you're hitting up are all people like giving money to actual schools. So they're like, wait, you want me to pay for what now? No thanks.
Indiana's had players in the TBT before, but they've not had a
other
team
schools.
exclusively of
Not many, though.
Indiana. It was just Jordan Holes, Will Sheehy, and Christian Watford, right? Oh, and Maurice Creek.
When did Jordan Holtz play in it?
It was the same. He was on that same team. I don't remember what the name of the team was, but they were all on the same team. Maybe it wasn't Will Sheehy. Maybe he was one that wasn't on it. But I know Holes and Watford and Creek were all on a team.
I remember seeing Watford.
Yeah, he played for that cancer team.
And that's the one I thought Holes was on too. But either way, I mean, you can ask him about it later, obviously, when he comes on. But all right, here we go.
3 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door.
This segment is brought to you by Freethink Apparel. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Friday. I hope you're doing well. Staying dry because it's certainly very, very rainy today where I was and am. Brought to you by Freethink Apparel. Make sure you go to freethink.com and get printing today. They can take care of your needs, whether it's 20 shirts for the family reunion or 200 for this summer softball league. Freethink Apparel Promotions can take care of that and much more. They can wrap your car. They can do it's amazing all the different things that they can do at Freethink. Look them up. You shall see. Casey Bartley joining us from Boiler Upload, and not a lot going on the Purdue side, mainly because they're brought in 6 new faces or are bringing in 6 new faces. So everything on the recruiting side for them was pretty much taken care of. One thing I think people don't understand is that with Ethan Morton leaving and Mason Gillis leaving, that was a planned thing. And a lot of people don't believe that, especially some Purdue fans. I'm like, well, trust me, it was planned. It was not Matt Painter did not plan on having them for 5 years, and so he kept what he was doing the same. He went out and recruited, and they were there for their length of time, and it was time for them to go. Not in that regards, but as far as the plan that he has and that he's sticking with. And Mason Gillis ends up at Duke. Is Ethan Morton? Is he just done?
Colorado State. He announced a couple
State.
days ago. Yeah, which they got into the second game of the tournament last year. So not a bad program. They've got a lot of freshmen coming in, so it makes sense. They wanted a guy with some experience and who can be a leader on the locker room or in the locker room and on the court.
And I believe that Purdue is still oversigned by one, so somebody else is going to be either giving up a scholarship or leaving. Anything on that?
Yeah. So, like you said, it was a pretty. It wasn't a secret that Mason and Ethan were leaving. They knew all along that those 2 spots were gone, but that still leaves them one over. And it was one of those things where one of the recruits, it looked like he was going to reclassify to 2026 or 2025. Ended up not. Too good of a recruit for Painter to say, well, I'm not going to take him. And now, I mean, the portal window is closed. So it doesn't matter if you're a grad transfer, if you have your degree or not, you can't get in the portal. So what's happening is someone obviously has to be giving up their scholarship unless I have talked to almost every recruit. None of them have mentioned prep school. It wasn't a conversation they've had with Painter. That's not something that I foresee on the table. It makes no sense for either the program or the players. You don't want to give up a year of development, even if you're redshirting them. You want them in-house. You want them learning the system, how to play against Big Ten guys. Like, you don't want them away from you. So you got to think, especially with how quiet it is. There's not even whispers from inside the program or anywhere like what's happening. It is the quietest big news thing that I've been a part of in the last 2 years. And that just tells me, like, what's the least dramatic option? Someone's given up their scholarship. And if that's the case, Purdue has no reason to tell anyone, make a headline. Like, that's an internal thing in-house. Something is set up in a way where the players are fine with it. The player's fine with it. The coach is fine with it. So, like, it's an in-house thing. And at this point in stage, with the calendar the way it is, with the portal the way it is, that's just got to be what's happening, which it's pretty clear to look at who would be the option for that. One or two guys, one in particular, but like there's not a whole bunch to gain from just like projecting who it's going to be, because they'll announce it at some point and they'll treat it like it's not a big deal.
Right. And it kind of isn't really, but it can be made out to be just for spits and giggles. But it's just, and I've also told people that while Painter has stuck with what he's doing, he's going to make some adjustments soon. You're not going to be able, the days of being able to bring in 6 guys are over. Right. That's too much. That's too many freshmen to come in, because after next season, over half of the team will be underclassmen. And that's not where you want to be either. You want to kind of get old and stay old kind of a thing.
Well, yeah, and it's weird because like it's a weird confluence of events where you had a large younger class that's the heart of this team now, Smith, Lawyer, TKR, but you also only brought in 1 freshman last year. So you had the extreme both ways. Last year you had just 1. So it does switch over a little bit. It makes sense that you bring in 6 this year. If you combine it together, that's 7 freshmen in 2 years. That sounds right. That's normal. Obviously, that will probably be the way it goes. But when you look at the guys Painter brought in, Kanan Catchings, Jakari Harris, these are big time guys. Same way with Miles Colvin last year. So I think this was definitely just an extreme brought about by the fact that Painter had his guys that he wanted. Turns out a lot of them were a little highlier ranked than normal. And yeah, it's a weird, it's definitely not sustainable. Like, having 1 freshman was kind of weird. It's a weird thing for a program. Having 6 next year is going to be a whole different kind of weird. It will definitely be a much different summer for the coaching staff and players trying to get everything together. It's still a strong nucleus that have played. You know, you've got 8 guys that pretty much all had minutes except for Wilberg and Waddell, but like it's going to be a lot of teaching this summer instead of just getting everyone up to pace.
The fall off there. I mean, there's going to be fall off, obviously. Most people are not expecting it to be very much. Joe Lenardi had his way too soon projections, which I don't put much stock into them, but they had both Indiana and Purdue as a 4 seed. So, which may be about right. And, you know, that's a team ranked in the 20s. So that's could possibly be right. We'll find out, but you have to let them play games because Indiana's got a whole new team. They're going to have 7 new faces on their squad as well. Only one of those guys will be freshmen. So there's a same thing, a similar situation with only 1 freshman coming in. We're going the portal route instead. And that's something that I meant a minute ago that Matt Painter's going to have to adjust to. Or going to make an adjustment by not 6 is too many freshmen, maybe 3, sometimes 4. It depends if you're bringing in the talent level that he's bringing in. It's kind of hard to say no to some of these guys because if you're not taking them, somebody else is going to take them. But you also, the portal it just gives you an opportunity to bring in instant experience.
Yeah, I mean, Painter himself, I think one of the most glaring things that came from that tournament run is like he knows it's going to bite him in the butt one year at some point. And I do think it's a small blip where there'll be a season where we look and we're like, they needed a guy there, and he'll admit it afterwards, like we should have got a guy. But right now they are, you know, it's 3 straight years of being ranked number 1 at some point during the season. So you earn respect You earn respect and the benefit of the doubt that you're going to make this work. And it's a strange case because like Purdue loses so much in Zach Edey, and that makes the on-court thing questionable. I think Purdue has a lot to work to do to figure out what they're going to do on defense next year. They had a lot rely on Zach just being inside, being a rim dominant presence that just kept people out of the paint. Without that, it's going to put a lot more pressure on the perimeter. I also think that this team, I mean, bringing someone like Braden Smith back, Lawyer's been there a while now. Like all the nucleus is strong and all has experience in a way that most teams don't when you think of a rebuilding team. They're rebuilding because of how good Zach Edey is, and they have to replace that much. But the guys there all have a ton of experience, have done the Big Ten, have been ranked number 1 every season they've been involved. So it's going to be very interesting to see if is it viable to make this many true freshmen be supplements in the way that you usually think of transfers now. Like instead of Lance Jones, Purdue has Jakari Harris to fill in at the 2 spot. Instead of bringing a big name guy to get some points, they've got Kanan Catchings coming. So can you get what you need out of true freshmen in those roles that other teams are relying on portals? Like that is going to be a mark of how good the coaching staff can be and how quickly these guys can catch on.
And we'll certainly find out, man. I appreciate you being with us today. I know you got to get out of here, and so we'll let you get to it, and we'll talk more about this next week.
All right. Appreciate you, Jim.
You bet. Casey Bartley joining us from Boiler Upload. Make sure if you're a Boiler fan, you go there, stay up to date on what all is going on. We've got a few more minutes here before they hit our next break, but it's going to I'm going to be interested to see what Purdue can do because they have lost a ton. And not only they lost a ton with Zach Edey, they lost a complete style where they could just throw that ball into the paint and almost forget about it. They are not going to have that. I know they have Will Berg coming, 7-footer, but just because he's 7 foot, that doesn't mean a whole lot. It was the size of Zach Edey. It was that 7 foot, 300 pounds of immovable object, and 7'4" on top of that. So it's going to be completely different for Purdue next year, but it's going to be different for everybody. Like I said, Indiana's going to have 7 new faces. And but one of the things I was talking about with Purdue is I was curious. I can't remember how many open spots they'll have after this upcoming season because they're bringing in 6 freshmen, and I don't know how many that are being chased by Matt Painter. We all know that Trent Sisley is one of the guys that he's trying to get, but I also think that they're recruiting Jalen Harrelson, I believe. So it'll be interesting to see how many. That would be just a lot of underclassmen to have, and that's where not using the portal will catch up to Purdue. But I think by then there will probably be an adjustment by Matt Painter to do just that. He's going to have to add some pieces, some need now pieces that we need right now to get this job done. And what that'll be is probably going to be wing players, but we'll have to find out. And we will. Can they sustain the run that they've been on? Can Indiana turn the tables now and get back to where they have sought to get back to, where the fans have wanted to see them back to? It's been a long time since they've had a sustained run. Can they make a sustained run? I've seen guys the other day, I forget who it was, but said that he thought Indiana was a top 10 team right now, or could be a top 10 team. And I stay away from those kind of expectations because that's a lot for a team that you haven't seen taking a dribble yet. And the fans, they definitely get excited, and you start seeing words like Final Four and all that. But you've got to see what you have and see what you have from a continuity role from that team as well. There's no doubt the talent is there. I mean, you've got Umar Ballo, who is a big that is proven already. Kanan Carlisle and Miles Rice. These guys, they're great pickups. And then there's more. Then you're adding pieces like Luke Goody, which is a great pickup. They have just made a full 300 or 180 degree turn as far as the type of talent on that team. And it's good to see for Indiana fans. It will be even better when if they're competing and beating teams at the highest level. Then that's when things are going to be fun. The fans will be ecstatic. And like I said, this series with Kentucky restarts, and it's one more season away, I believe, John, if I'm correct.
Yeah, so this year they won't face Kentucky. It'll be in the 25-26 season.
And they never got anything set up with Louisville, did they?
No, I don't think they ever were planning on it. They used to have a series going on back when Archie Miller was the head coach.
Kenny Payne and Woodson were talking.
And obviously they faced in Madison Square Garden last year, and this year they may potentially play in the Bahamas, depending on how the bracket lines up. So that could just be the way things play out, but they may not face each other. We'll have to see.
Yeah, the battle for Atlantis. That's an expensive
get that
trip.
Field up real quick. I'll go over who's in that field before we get to our top
It's
of the hour.
It's a pretty stout field too. I mean, it is. That's going to be an early test for this team, and it'll give a great indication of what Indiana fans will have to look forward to, because they are going to get tested early. But not only that, if they can successfully navigate that, now you want to talk about getting into net problems at the start of the year like Indiana did last year.
Yeah.
Well, that will certainly keep them out of that and propel them in a forward direction. And then you wrap up by playing your regular non-con schedule, and then before you go into Big Ten play.
So here we go. The 8-team field for the Battle for Atlantis includes obviously Indiana and Louisville, who we've already mentioned, Arizona, Creighton, Davidson, Gonzaga, Oklahoma, and West Virginia.
Man, Umar Ballo could play against his own team.
That's true, and it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I don't know how they decide who plays which team to open up the bracket, but it'll either be where Indiana faces Arizona first, or they'll have it set up to where they would face in the championship potentially. I feel like it'll be one of those two.
That's a good point, but you play more than one game.
If you play them first, then you guarantee the matchup. But then you also
but you play more than one game, right?
Yeah, you're guaranteed to play 3, I believe.
Oh, well, they'll probably set
it's
it
all
up
based on how you win and how you lose and that kind of thing. Like, because if you keep losing, you keep playing other losers.
Right.
It's set up exactly like the Maui Invitational, except it's in the Bahamas, obviously.
Yeah, well, they're going to want that matchup. I don't know if they want it right off the bat or not. Well, the TV is definitely going to want that matchup. There's no question. The matchup that happened just a few years ago in Las Vegas with Indiana and Arizona. So we'll definitely get to see that. But you talked about other teams like Creighton.
Creighton would be a great matchup.
I mean, there's another. That's a big. That'll draw. That will definitely draw. So some great matchups from a TV standpoint, and the Louisville game as well. Hey, we've got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, including Rick Bozich, Zach Osterman, and we are expecting to speak with Christian Watford as Indiana has a new team to enter in the TBT. Lots more coming up, brought to you by Freethink. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
In the market.
Let me send Zach a message, make sure he's all good. Yeah, I don't know who, if I were, I mean, I know you can't bet on this, obviously, but if I were betting on who they think, Zach says he's logging in. Maybe he was watching and waiting to see when we would go to break before he logged in. I'm curious if guests do that sometimes. I'm curious if I were betting on who Indiana plays first. You know what? I bet it's Creighton. Now that we talk about that, I bet it'll be Indiana Creighton to open up that round, or the tournament. And then maybe they'll have Louisville in the second one. Like, they would potentially play them next, and I'm sure Arizona will be on the other side, but who knows? Good morning, Zach.
Hey.
How are you doing, sir?
Good, you?
Cannot complain. I was going down to Churchill today, but it rained and rained and rained, so I said, nope, we're going to punt on that.
Yeah, probably not a good day to be down there.
What's new in your world?
Nothing. Excuse me.
Can't believe that. How long, Johnny boy?
20 seconds. I'll go ahead and pull us back in.
Crest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Ravesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details. This segment is brought to you by Hoosier Hanks East. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back on this Friday. I hope it's dry where you are and warm. Zach Osterman from the Indy Star joining us now. Zach, the summer has not, or it's not summer yet, but the spring, it has not slowed down, man. It has been busy, busy, busy. Usually after the tournament ends, most of us get to take a breather, but that has not been the case, as the portal has been just a nonstop attention getter. There's football news, Indiana losing guys, picking guys up, and before they go into the summer for practice, it's just been AAU. It has just been a nonstop barrage of things that are continuing to play out.
Yeah, I mean, I think the portal's done this, and I think there's plenty of things that are wrong with, or could stand to be, sort of revised or reformed around the portal, and when the window's open and all those different kinds of things. But having said that, I think, in the same breath, the portal working the way that it has, sort of feeding right out of the season, it opens at the start of the NCAA tournament. It sort of starts to fill up as the tournament. It's almost like it gets primed as the tournament winds down. Then there's that break for the Final Four, and then it just kind of, launches into, full throttle mode right after the dead period around the Final Four ends. It's kind of extended the college basketball season, and I don't know if we talked about this in the last couple of weeks or not, but it feels a lot like the NFL draft, and where the draft has kind of basically moved, almost given the NFL 2 extra months of relevancy every year, because you take a quick break between the Super Bowl and the Combine. But once the Combine hits, we're talking about mock drafts and players moving up and down and team needs and trades and whatever else for 2 months, basically, between the combine and the draft. It feels like the portal has kind of done that for college basketball. And I think it's particularly relevant for basketball because there's such a sense that your fortunes can change so sort of dramatically from one year to the next. You can have an off season like Indiana's having, where, maybe there was some frustration, some disappointment on the last season, but it seems like a lot of that negative momentum has been arrested. And it's still on Mike Woodson to, take these pieces and put them in the right places and win games with them. But, you suddenly kind of reframe Indiana's season last season less as sort of this, oh my God, what's happened? This was a disaster. And more as a, hey, that was a down year, but look how Indiana, who had 2 perfectly good seasons before last year, look how they're bouncing back. On the other hand, you have a program like Minnesota, where Minnesota probably surprised a lot of us last season, had a pretty decent year, certainly against expectations, which, were pretty much to be the bottom of the league. And now you look at Minnesota's roster and it's just kind of been completely dismantled by the portal. And so my point is, basketball has the distinct quality of being so, easy to sort of impact with this, for better or worse, with, the accessibility of this kind of roster churn, in a way that even football, unless you have a coaching change and, half the team goes in the portal just to check their options, yes, we cover big portal recruitments in football, but it always still feels like a smaller tree in a larger forest because of just the sheer weight of numbers. The basketball portal feeding out of the season the way it has, when everybody's still kind of got an appetite for college basketball, they haven't really powered down for the off season. It's extended the college basketball season. And I don't, while I think there's plenty of things about the portal that need to be, sort of corrected or considered, I don't think that part of it's a bad thing.
No, absolutely not. And there was the talks early this week that we saw where the powers that be are trying to work on settling this dispute. I don't know if it's, you want to call it a dispute or whatever, to where in essence they will turn the players into employees, I think. But I don't know if that's how it's going to go, but that seems to be the only way that they're going to get some kind of control over it's not so much the portal, but guys just jumping from place to place. They can go for 4 years and go to 4 different schools, and if they like, and there's no control whatsoever via NIL or anything. And that's something that I would like to see change, whether it's you can sign somebody for 2 years. At least you know that for 2 years you're going to have them, and you could have some kind of roster balance or thought into what you're doing, instead of it being all new recruiting all 13 guys every year.
Yeah, I think you're talking about the House case, and the House case has been from there have been all these sort of competing forces. There have been challenges that have reached the Supreme Court, and we saw the Supreme Court's decision in the the Alston case a couple of years ago that laid out, I think a fairly sort of anti-NCAA sort of judicial framework. There's been the NLRB stuff. There's been lobbying Congress for an antitrust exemption, and a national sort of NIL framework. The House case has always been the most impactful of all the lawsuits, because it's essentially asking, and I'm being very reductive when I describe it this way. So please understand that it's more complex than this, but it's effectively asking for back pay. It's effectively saying these athletes were employees. They should have been earning money for their work, just like any other student employee of the university would have earned. And they were denied that opportunity, and essentially the NCAA owes them. I mean, just to some extent, essentially the NCAA owes them wages earned. And that the number itself is eye watering. I think the one I've seen most recently is $2.7 billion. And obviously if they come to a settlement, then maybe that number changes a little bit. But I also suspect that any settlement is probably going to require the NCAA or whatever sort of governing authority emerges from all this, which at this point will probably still be the NCAA, because that House case does seem like it's moving towards settlement, fairly soon. And when I say House, just to be clear, it's like House versus the NCAA. I don't mean the House of Representatives. It's like House is the plaintiff,
Player, yeah.
Like Alston or O'Bannon or whatever. Anyway, it is. I don't see how you can settle that and come to some sort of agreement, some sort of settlement, and not emerge from that having sort of almost been forced to create the framework for a revenue sharing model. And listen, I think that most people want to move that way at this point. I think most people in college athletics just sort of recognize that there is really no legal or political climate conducive to getting the NCAA its antitrust exemption and allowing the NCAA to continue operating, as something resembling normal, essentially. And everyone just sort of sees revenue sharing as cleaner, as more sort of governable, because revenue sharing will, in all likelihood, involve some sort of athlete unionization, which will then allow collective bargaining, and everyone will sort of come to the table and say, it'll be anything from, medical expenses and concerns to, obviously wages and wage structure, dealing with off. If you think about what professional athlete unions, that they negotiate things like, off-season training activity, and when you're required to be at something and when something is voluntary, and those different sorts of things. It will cover a whole host of things. And by the way, once we get there, it will probably be fairer, broadly speaking, for everyone involved. And it will probably feel less chaotic than NIL has. Athletes won't make as much money. Now, some will, because it's worth saying, NIL won't go away. Like, the idea that athletes can enter into, sort of branding opportunities, that won't stop. Like, Trace Jackson Davis will still, just to, pull a recent example, or I think Malik Renew has an NIL deal with a local car dealership. Sorry, I don't know if it's Andy Moore Honda or not. I apologize, Andy Moore Honda.
But it's not, but I think I saw that, yeah.
But the point is, the next Malik Renew will still be appealing to the local car, to Andy Moore Honda or whoever, to sort of say, we would like this IU basketball player to come in, we would like him to come endorse our dealership, our business, and in exchange, we'll give him a free car, or we'll, give him, $50,000 or whatever. There will still be endorsements, essentially in the same way that professional athletes get endorsements. But it won't, in all likelihood, it will not be what it is now, which is just sort of this unchecked bidding war that is, when there's no other framework, when there's no other sort of, option, I won't say option, but there's no other sort of path for athletes to be compensated other than for, big donors to just shell out money for schools to, funnel into collectives to build these large NIL deals. It probably won't be quite as lucrative for the majority of athletes. And it will also be something where, if they want to collectively bargain, then they're probably going to have to agree to certain stipulations, like, you can only transfer a certain number of times, or the portal is, the portal window is only open at this time, or, whatever. And, it'll also be something where athletes will be treated like employees, which means that if they run afoul of certain conditions, then, there may be actionable consequences, including, potentially being dismissed, losing your scholarship, whatever. I do think the revenue sharing model is going to be cleaner and fairer to everyone involved. And I think it's going to be easier. It'll be hard to figure out for, in the beginning. We'll have to, break it in like a new pair of shoes, but it will probably benefit everyone, broadly speaking, in the longer term. It's just going to be a little funky for a while. But yes, I think that's everyone's believed we've been headed in that direction for a long time. And by a long time, I mean probably at least the last 4 or 5 years. And I think that there's a decent chance House is what kind of finally gets us planted firmly on that road.
Well, we'll certainly hope so, because there's got to be something. It has just become, I hate to use the same term, wild west, but it is just unfettered and unchecked. And that is not fun for fans when you see a guy that's on 3 different teams in 3 years. And so it would be great to see some control and some symmetry in the future. But appreciate you, man, and look forward to it. I hope you have a great weekend.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, as always.
You betcha. Zach Osterman from the Indy Star joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Friday. We've got more coming up, including Rick Boich and Christian Watford, to talk about Indiana's new TBT team. We're back with more, brought to you by the Ugly Grouper on Anna Maria Island, Florida, right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Formerly
Good morning.
Where are you, at the track? Hello?
He's not. He was planning on being there, but because of the rain, that he's in a garage of some sort.
What garage?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
He might be trying to reconnect. He wasn't having issues earlier, but he was trying to mess with something earlier. So I don't know what he's doing, but I'm sure he'll be back on in a moment.
Okay. You haven't been out there this week, have you?
No. I think both of our stations, though, at iHeart will be there today. I'll be back in studio. I won't be at the tracks, but so thankfully I won't have to deal with getting down there.
It's brutal.
Were you talking about getting into the track?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was asking if I'll be down there today. I mentioned our stations will be, but I'll be in our studios.
I was like, man, I had full plans on it, but that rain, I kept hearing, I'm like, yeah, it's bad enough to deal with it by itself. I said, I am not dealing with all that in the rain.
Nope.
So my credential will go unpicked up this year.
Send me your parking pass.
You don't have one?
I don't have one, no. I park at the fairgrounds and ride the bus, probably.
Well, why? I would think you'd get one.
Oh, there aren't that many, so I'll have one in the morning when I have to be there. I don't have one for today.
I don't know if I'm just more aware of it this year, but it feels like Louisville has been way more crowded this week than in previous years, just in general.
Yeah, there's no question. It's become a pretty much total out-of-towners event.
Yeah. And it's also the only time of the year where they actually mow the interstate, if you've ever noticed that.
Yeah, they did that on this side of the river, I noticed. I'm like, damn, they're getting ready for the Derby too, I guess. How's it been out there?
It's been good. I mean, for me, the best time to go was last week, because then you can actually talk to the trainers, because there's not a million people around. Once it got to like Tuesday or Wednesday of this week, there's so many people out there that it's just impossible to kind of.
Maybe that's what I'll do next year.
All right,
or if you come Derby week, come like Monday or Tuesday.
Payments for 90 days. That's right. 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville and Evansville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Indy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Friday. Brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, or I think I will find myself today, as a matter of fact. Pizza, burgers, and beer. Food made fresh each and every day, so I think I'll stop by there today. Rick Bozich joining us now. Rick has been out to the track. Churchill Downs is the 150th running of the Kentucky Derby is set to take off on tomorrow, as a matter of fact, but there's also things just going on nonstop. Louisville is Pat Kelsey. Really, I've seen quite a few names that they've landed via the portal. Mark Pope in Kentucky, he's pulled in some good names. Kobe Brea, the sharpshooter from Dayton. Indiana, of course, has reloaded via the portal. So next year's going to be a different season for all of these teams.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Indiana will have the most returnees on the roster with 6. It's pretty much of a brand new team at Kentucky and at Louisville. You can argue that if you go by the rankings, Kentucky's done a better job than Louisville out of the portal, but both coaches have been very aggressive and gotten some players who've been winners at other locations as they both try and build their own culture. It'll be a major change of pace for Kentucky, because after 15 years of doing it Calipari's way with all these guys you keep seeing in the NBA playoffs, this is going to be a different deal. It's not going to be one and done freshmen. It's going to be guys who've already played 2 or 3 years in college elsewhere.
No, it's great timing for all this to happen, too, because there's the potential of Indiana and Louisville playing again next year via a tournament down in Atlantis. And then the series with Indiana and Kentucky starts the year after that. And so it will be interesting to see if they're kind of on even ground when that comes around. Indiana has really reloaded. They've got the most people coming back, as you said, but they've also got a lot of different parts that they needed. They've added at the guard position, and it's going to be an interesting year to see what if all the things that they brought out of the portal are going to come to fruition for that team.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just such a curious time in college basketball to try and figure out every team. Hopefully, after the Derby's over this weekend. Now that the portal is closed in terms of players going into it, but still open for players coming out of it, I can look and kind of dig in on every team. But from some of the stuff I've read, Indiana's roster looks like it should be a top 20 team. Kentucky's going to be a borderline top 25 team, and Louisville might be just outside that. So we might be getting back to the way that things used to be, where all 3 teams are nationally recognized.
Yeah, well, Indiana fans they'll go berserk over that, because they have just been clamoring for that. They got a big taste of it the year before last with Trace Jackson Davis, that group that he led, but it still wasn't quite that much. They got to the tournament and didn't get out of that weekend, but they were competing and winning big games, beating Purdue when they had Zach Edey, and so getting back to all of that, it's just fun when it's like that. Louisville, Kentucky, Indiana, they all need to be good at the same time. It just makes everything so much more fun. Even Purdue, I mean, you want to see that rivalry be a rivalry. You want to see all those games be great games, not blowouts. And the portal is good for that in a way. But I talked about Purdue. Matt Painter's still doing it his way, bringing in 6 freshmen. I've talked about how that he's probably got to make an adjustment to that, but it's going to be interesting to see how they're able to move on from Zach Edey.
Yeah, and they're actually won over the scholarship limit, right? So they got to get rid of a guy, or have a guy go prep school, or have somebody go off scholarship or something. I'm not sure how they're going to do it, and they're going to be doing it without anybody out of the portal, right? I don't think they added anybody out of the portal. They lost 2, right? Gillis and
2 right now, and there will be a third, like you just mentioned.
Yeah, so they're going to be good. Matt Painter and Tom Izzo are the kings of the Big Ten, and they've been there the longest. They've established their culture. They've got a proven way of doing things. Both have now been to Final Fours. They're usually going to be among the top 4 or 5 teams in the league, even when they're not having a good team. Even this year, Michigan State wasn't very good and still made the tournament. Matt Painter's not going anywhere. He's going to continue to have good teams. And if Indiana's going to get back towards the top of the Big Ten, they're going to have to go through Purdue to get there.
Without question. They are the king of the state at the moment. And also, the schedules came out this week for the Big Ten conference games. 20-game schedule still, but now we've got these 4 teams added from the West Coast: Washington, Oregon, USC, and UCLA. USC and UCLA will be coming to Bloomington next season. And then I assume the following year, Indiana goes out to Pauley Pavilion, which will be pretty cool. This year, they're going to the Rose Bowl. So there are some cool aspects of that, whether it's a venue or whatnot. And I don't know that UCLA has ever always established that. They've never played in Assembly Hall. So that's going to be a cool thing. So there's some cool things that are coming out of this. But then as a league now, you look at it, I've got no clue because I don't know who's going to be what next year. Is Indiana going to be? They're going to be probably in the conversation, but that's because Purdue is not going to be the dominant team that they were. There is not going to be that team that is going to be hard to knock off. I don't know what Illinois is going to end up with. I don't know what Michigan State's going to be like. Ohio State had a great run, so there's going to be a lot of questions going into this Big Ten season.
Yeah, no doubt about it. UCLA, Mick Cronin stayed, although there was rumblings for a while that he went beyond Louisville's list. He had not a good team this year. I think he ended up close to a losing record at 500 at best. But I think he's got most of his guys coming back, and I think they've did well in recruiting and in the portal, so they'll be good. USC is now Eric Musselman, so that'll be a brand new team with all transfer portal guys. So it'll be fun to see both those teams come in, and it'll be fun to me to see how they schedule it. Will it be like a deal where they play UCLA and USC on the same weekend? I mean, when they come in,
I was wondering that very thing.
Yeah, like that'd be a tough thing to ask those two teams. Like, okay, this is your weekend where you're going to play Indiana on Thursday night, and then you're going to play at Purdue on Sunday afternoon, because when they send them across the country, they're going to play at least 2 games. It's going to be like a Rutgers, Maryland, or a Michigan State, or an IU Purdue, or an IU Illinois, or a Minnesota, Iowa. I mean, that's the only fair way to do it, so they don't make these teams play. It'd be ridiculous to send them across the country to play 1 game, and it'd be unfair to also say, okay, you're going to play Thursday at Rutgers, and then you're going to get on a plane and play Saturday night in Iowa. I mean, that would be an unfair competitive advantage. So I'll be looking forward to see how they do that.
And the same in reverse, whether it's Indiana, Purdue, whomever. It's easy. You go to UCLA and USC, same city, for the weekend, and then Oregon and Washington, quick little trip in between the two. I expect to see that as well. So it's going to be very interesting. But as far as the conference goes, man, it's going to be interesting to see who's going to be leading it. And I don't know that there's going to be that many easy games next year either. There's going to be probably few. Everything is going to be a fight. I mean, I'm sure there's always the bottom teams, but those bottom teams are not always as bad as they seem. And a perfect example of that was Ohio State last year. They were one of the bottom feeders of the Big Ten, but man, they were able to knock off Purdue and do some things and go on that run at the end. So it's going to be very, very interesting just from that standpoint.
Well, the one thing I've noticed, Jim, is that there have been some Big Ten teams that have gotten hit pretty hard by the portal. Wisconsin's gotten wiped out pretty much. They lost Chucky Hepburn to Louisville. They lost AJ Store, whatever his name is. He went to Kansas. Yep. They lost another guy. Iowa's lost Tony Perkins, and I think another guy. Minnesota's lost at least 2 or maybe 3 guys from a team that was a decent young team last year, and had some nice moments. So some Big Ten teams have taken Illinois. He did this last year. He rebuilt his team on the fly, but he had Shannon coming back and Luke Goody. But I mean, he's lost most of his guys. Didn't Coleman Hawkins go in the portal? I saw. I mean,
Yep.
he's got almost a brand new team. So, I have sympathy for the guys who write for the college basketball preseason yearbooks, because it's going to take a lot of research to figure out who is actually on the team and trying to evaluate who's going to be good and who's not going to be good.
Yeah, it's a whole different world. I was talking earlier with Zach Osterman about the attempts to settle the house cases, as it's called, but and what that may bring, because man, I think everybody's looking forward to some kind of structure, some kind of order to this, because it is so crazy right now. And all the freedom that the players have, they have freedom that nobody has ever had. No coach or anything to be able to move like that, to move about. And I don't know that that's great for anybody.
You know, I was sitting actually at the racetrack on Wednesday talking with Chris Redmond, who played quarterback at Louisville, and Deion Branch, who played receiver at Louisville and now works on Jeff Brom's staff. And we were just talking about how much different it is that when Chris Redmond, who was a really good high school quarterback at Male High School, came to Louisville, he redshirted for a year. And then his next year, he sat for part of the year, and then the quarterback got hurt, and he got in and he got to play. And then Louisville fans watched him develop over that season and 3 more. And Jeff Brom was there. And Jeff Brom, I think he redshirted a year, and then he sat for a year behind Browning Nagel, and then he got to play 3 more years. And it's not that way anymore. And that wasn't, I mean, that's not like way back when I was in college. This is like, that's 20 years ago when these guys did that stuff. And it's like now it's different, because Tony Delk was out there from Kentucky. And like I was talking to him, I watched him play 4 years at Kentucky, and those guys, fans kind of feel like they got to know him and they became part of the community. Tony Delk lives in Lexington. Chris Redmond and Jeff Brom grew up in Louisville, but they live in Louisville. I mean, there's a lot of former players who come from out of town, though, whether it's IU, UK, or Louisville, who come and stay, learn, make friends, build relationships, get jobs, because they're not going to be professional athletes for the rest of their life. And they became part of the university and part of the school. And that's what I worry about. These guys who are, I'm here this year, I'm there next year, I'm here this next year. It's like, that's not happening for them.
No, and there's no, when the players come back, when you like to have players come back that are successful. Well, where are they going to come back to? One of 4 different teams. I mean, there's no, you just don't develop that bond, whether it's from the fans or just from the team or the community or anything. And that's an important bond.
Yeah, there's no question that it is. We can all think about players that we've watched at different schools that we've enjoyed watching develop. For me, I can think at Louisville, Felton Spencer was a guy who came in not expected to do much, makes himself a first-round NBA draft pick at Louisville. At Indiana, Victor Oladipo came in as a recruit ranked in not even the top 100.
Like a 3-star.
Yeah. So freshman year, showed some promise sophomore year. Junior year, he blows up. He's the number 2 pick in the draft, becomes an all-time fan favorite. And there's guys like that at Kentucky. There's guys like that at Purdue. I mean, Zach Edey. Look at Zach Edey. Was he a 5-year guy? He's a 4-year guy. So, Mackenzie Holmes, a 5-year player with IU women's basketball. So that's, I hope they do come up with some kind of system. It's going to be hard. It's going to be complicated in terms of compensation that they're trying to work out. But they only have themselves to blame because they waited for so long to react to the way the culture and society had changed and how much money was out there. And once, the door was open, it was over at that point.
Absolutely. And last bit of a thing before we let you go, I've got Christian Watford joining us next. Indiana getting a TBT team for the first time together now. Purdue has had one. Butler has one. Louisville doesn't have one either, do they?
No, they had one last year. I would highly recommend it. I had a great time going out there. They played 3 nights in a row at Freedom Hall. They got beat in the 3rd game and didn't make it to the finals, but they had a team with Peyton Siva, Russ Smith, Kyle Curick, and a few other guys. And this year, Montrezl Harrell's going to play for the team, so they're going to have a good team.
So there we go. Louisville got a team.
Kentucky's going to have one this year too. So, who knows? Could be a UK, U of L, and IU regional or something.
That would be crazy. Looking forward to it, man. Well, enjoy your weekend. You're going back out to the Derby tomorrow, right?
I'm going out this afternoon for the Oaks, and I'll be going out tomorrow morning to the Barns. And who knows? There's a hot rumor that Taylor Swift is going to be at the Barns tomorrow, but don't tell anybody.
Nobody listens. Don't worry. Rick Boich from WDRB.com. Cannot thank you enough, buddy. Appreciate you.
All right. Thank you.
Have
Bye-bye.
a good one.
Tell Sue
We've got more.
Hello.
We'll do that. We've got lots more coming up. Brought to you by our good friend Dr. J at Reynolds Family Dentistry right over here in Sellersburg for our folks down in southern Indiana. Go see Dr. J. Keep that championship smile. Up next, looking forward to talking to Christian Watford here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Back with that right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
In the market.
There he is. What's up, C-Watt?
What's going on, guys?
How are you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing all right. What's going on?
You've been busy.
Yeah, man. I've been trying to get everything lined up, man. It's been fun though. It's been busy, staying busy always fun though.
Now, are you playing?
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not playing, man. I'm just, I've been part of the GM kind of style, just making sure, putting everything together, getting all the pieces.
Well, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Well, because I reached out to Derek. He goes, man, I didn't even know about it.
Yeah, Derek. I kind of told Derek about it probably a couple weeks ago. It's been in the works for a while now. We just kind of been, I ain't really want to say nothing to too many people until we really got it actually in motion. You know what I'm saying? In motion, because it's been something we've been talking about for so long that we finally got it.
Do you remember Rick Bozich, reporter?
Yeah. I just seen him on.
He just he says hello. Right? He said hello, by the way. But he said Louisville has a team and Kentucky has a team this year too.
Right. Louisville been had a team. I know Kentucky this is their first time doing a team, so it should be fun. I don't know. I think Lexington may have their own region or something like that.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be fun though. It's going to be awesome to be up in the field house.
Oh yeah, man, it's gonna be fun, man. We got a Butler there. We got us gonna be there. We got I'm not sure who else gonna be there, but I know we should be able to
Purdue?
Put fans in the seat. Yeah, Purdue may. I don't know if they got a team. They may have a team, but anyway,
they do.
Yeah, I thought so.
Men of Mackey, they're in that regional.
Men of Mackey, yeah, that's right. They've been had one. That's right. So yeah,
and Mo Creek's old team. No, not Mo Creek's old team.
You talking about Xavier?
No, I meant not the cancer team, the NIT team. It's not them. There's dang it, the other team that's playing that. I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember either. But we're gonna have a good region, man. It should be fun. We should have definitely have a lot of fans pulling up. You guys pull up, man. Y'all come buy tickets. Y'all come support. We're gonna have some.
John, you have that flyer?
Huh?
I'm asking my producer.
Check my. Did you email it to me? Because I didn't see it earlier.
You can pull it off of the Hoosier.com.
Oh, it's on the Hoosier. Okay, give me a moment, and then once you all get rolling into this segment, I'll make sure I've got it uploaded in here. All right, who we got? Jim, I'll text you when I have it. We're about to come back from break, but I'll send you a message when I've got it uploaded. Here we go.
Tomahawk steak or a grouper filet and enjoy it cooked to perfection in Chop Shop Steakhouse. Chop Shop Market and Table, a part of the Wild Food Group, is your butcher, baker, and fish house, no matter where you live.
This segment is brought to you by the Fresh Fork in Bloomington. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Friday. Thank you so much for being with us. As always, we appreciate you, and we appreciate our man Christian Watford for joining us. See what? He has finally done what everybody has been asking for. He has managed to put together a TBT team for Indiana alumni, and that will be playing in the Butler, or I call it the Butler Regional, but at Hinkle Fieldhouse, which is amazing. First of all, that's going to take place there. But thanks a lot for joining us, Christian.
Man, no problem, man. I'm happy to be here. It's been a minute.
Great to see you again. It's been a while since had some games. You've been busy with Derek doing some podcasting afterwards, dabbling in a little bit of everything.
Yeah, man, I'm doing a little bit of everything right now. But it's fun, man. Anytime you can be around a game of basketball, whatever ways you can do it, man, it's always fun.
Well, you finally accomplished getting a TBT team set up for Indiana, which the fans have been clamoring for a while. It's a tournament that has just been around now and has really grown, and we've had fun watching it. Mo Creek played for a team for a long time. We watched them. And everybody's wanted to see an Indiana team. Part of the problem is you guys were always playing still during the summer, and whether it was in Europe or there's a lot of guys playing in the NBA, but it's hard to get those guys gathered up.
Yeah, man, it's been hard, bro. It's not only just that, man. We had a lot of players with injuries in the summertime. A lot of players just want to spend time with their family when they come home, just because they only at home for a couple months. So I think, the timing was right this time. We got some people helping me with it, man. We've been doing a great job. TBT been helping me with it, getting everything together, man. So it's been fun.
How important is it to the TBT tournament to have an Indiana team in this thing?
I think it's, I think it's real. I think they want to have an IU team. That's been the gist of the whole thing. I mean, in the last couple of years, I know they've reached out to me about having one just because they know what it'll bring, what the fans going to do. It's going to be competitive. And anytime you can get an IU team in Indiana, bro, it's just the perfect match. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Have you ever played at Hinkle Fieldhouse in any way, or even been to it?
I haven't. I think I've been there, but I haven't necessarily played in there or really been in there while a game's going on. So I heard it's a little different type of venue. So I'm excited to get in there and see.
Yeah, it's been around for a long time. Certainly, if you watch Hoosiers, the movie Hoosiers, that's where the state finals used to be played and where that was shot. So a very, very cool and old venue. So who all – we know you have Juwan Morgan. You've got Troy Williams. Who else did I say? Oh, Miller Kopp. Guys that are all – I mean, Juwan just recently out of the NBA. Troy had played in the NBA. Miller Kopp just off of a G League championship. That's a pretty good start.
Yeah, man. That's a good start. But best believe we're gonna have some of you, without giving you guys too much. We're gonna have some of your favorite Hoosiers in the building. Guys that still playing that you guys want to see. We definitely gonna make it so you guys can come see and have fun and most of all, we're trying to win this thing. We're trying to win our region and get. That's the main thing. So we might have a little additions here and there, but the gist we're gonna be Hoosiers for sure.
It's a $1 million winner take all. So there is no second place in this thing. So I understand the desire to win it. There's good reason to. I mean, the money is on the line, man.
Man, no doubt, man. I can remember myself playing in it. Got to the championship game. This was when it was $2 million and lost in the championship game, man. I don't know, man. I tell people I may have felt worse losing that than I did losing the Syracuse game my senior year when you lose.
Oh man,
so it was brutal, man. So, but that's the beauty of TBT. It's one winner. It's a chance to financial freedom, give you some money in your pocket. So it's good. You guys love it. The Elam ending is very big in TBT, makes it real exciting. So man, the fans are going to enjoy it. They're going to love it.
Yeah, we've had, I think his first name's Dave Elon on before. Just a cool, unique, different feature. And I think that's part of what makes this thing so cool because it is different.
Yeah, it is different, no doubt, man. It's a strategy to it. Now you can't just go out there and just jack up shots and try to get it done. You see a lot of teams be up 8, end up losing like that. pressing with the Elam inning and stuff. So it's different for sure.
Looking forward to seeing that. I think that there's going to be a lot of people turn out for this because, first of all, you're going to have an Indiana team now, and that's one of the biggest fan bases that there is. But you've got a Purdue team that's close by, Butler team, so these stands should be pretty close to filled.
Oh yeah, no doubt. That's the main reason we wanted to have it in this region right here. We think it'll be, it obviously is going to attract a lot of fans and stuff like that, and we're going to get a lot of support.
How long before you will announce any other roster members?
Not long. Probably the next week or two. We kind of try to roll it out in a certain way. Probably announce 3 more, 2 here, but we're gonna have a lot of Hoosiers. We're gonna have some Hoosiers on the sidelines coaching. We're gonna have some Hoosiers and a lot more Hoosiers on the court. So man, it's gonna be fun, man. I'm looking forward to it. Anytime I can be back with my brothers, you know what I'm saying, that I played with, and guys that's just know what it means to wear that jersey, man. It's always going to be fun.
And what's could be unique about this, there's probably going to be guys that were either behind you, in front of you, a real mix of former Indiana players.
Right, no doubt about it. We got some that played with me, some that played, that came a little bit after me. It's going to be a little bit around there, not so much as, current guys that just got finished. So it's going to be a lot of guys that was there during the Tom Crean days. That's for sure.
What is it taking for you to do all this? I know that there's just a lot to it. You're not playing. You're more of the GM, like you said. But there's a lot that goes into it. A lot of work behind all this.
Man, it's a lot of work, man. We've been trying to steady get sponsors. You guys interested in sponsoring, man, you guys reach out. We're still looking for, sponsors. But it's been a lot of, communication more so than anything, just trying to get these guys all on the same page. A lot of guys in Europe and stuff like that. So it's been a lot of talking, different hours and stuff like that, man. But we're getting it all together. A lot of guys excited to play. Like I said, I think the timing is good now, where we had, we used to have a lot of guys like playing summer league and stuff like that kind of overlaps TBT. We don't really have too many guys that's doing that right now. So we could have like the main core guys playing in TBT.
Yeah, and like I said, this is going to be pretty daggone awesome. If they had a Notre Dame team, you'd have the old Crossroads Classic going on.
Yeah, no doubt. They don't have. I don't think they got a team, but nah, that would be crazy. Definitely. We always had some good battles at the Crossroads Classic.
So from a sponsorship standpoint, I know you said you're looking for sponsors. What can people do? What is it that are there different levels from the sponsorship?
It's different levels. You could get the jersey patches. We got, the patches on the front. You can get the big patch, the small patches. It's different type, possibly get something on the court. It's different types of things that you can get by, being a sponsor to the Assembly Ball for sure.
And I will have you send that to me so we can make sure that we put that up and get that out. Right. Right now, where can people find that information?
Right now, they can find that information just on the TBT website. I think that's where you can find out exactly, the packages and different stuff like that. But I'll shoot you some over. Maybe you guys can put it on your website, do whatever for us. But we'll get it done. Absolutely,
we'll get it out there, and because I'm sure there are people that can be involved from all over, because there are Indiana alumni from all over the place and listening here from all over the place. People that own small businesses or whatever, everybody can be a part of this.
Right, no doubt. It's a big deal, man. It's going to be on ESPN. Every game is going to be on ESPN, so you're going to have a chance for whatever brand you want to be broadcasted, to push your business. It's definitely a good marketing tool as well.
Let's see, John, did you ever get that pulled up from the Hoosier?
Yeah, so the reason I have that link down there below, there's not a flyer. There was a tweet that was posted, and I just took the link from that tweet. It's got where you can buy tickets.
All right, read it. What's it say?
So it says you can get these tickets at thetournament.com/TBT/Butler-regional-tickets.
And we'll have that up on again, and we'll put that in a situation where you can read it easier. But we'll show it all from the rest of the summer as well to push this. I'm sure there's guys that you'd like to get to play but can't be for whatever reason. Who are some of the guys that you couldn't get that you would like to have had?
Well, we're still trying. I mean, obviously, you know, we got NBA guys that's still playing, that's on the current. You know, obviously you can't get the Cody Zellers and the you know, Romeo Langford is a guy that's probably still going to be in the summer league and still trying to push. You know, you wish you could get those guys and stuff like that, but those guys got, you know, things to do. You know what I'm saying, and the rules and stuff like that. So that's just the main thing. But I still think we're gonna have a lot of guys that, you know, your favorite Hoosiers. I think we're gonna have a lot of those guys as well.
Well, we'll make sure we'll have all the information out up on the Hoosier.com, and we'll keep pushing it here as well. Speaking of college basketball now, Christian, things are so different. You have not been out of school that long, but man, it's like a world of difference in the college game now than it was just 10 short years ago.
Man, it's totally different. The landscape of everything has changed. You know, I like it though. You know, I think it makes it more competitive. I know it sucks for like the smaller schools and stuff like that, just because so many players are jumping in that transfer portal, going to bigger schools and stuff like that. But it's competitive, man. I still love the game. I still, you know, believe in the NIL and stuff like that. So it's been fun. I enjoy watching it.
Yeah, it does. There are a lot of positives to each. Positives or negatives, of course, but we may not have had a watch shot though. If you never know, the year before the portal could have been there, and man, it's just so weird how much history could have been changed by if there had been a portal back then.
Yeah, man, a lot of stuff would have been different, but we probably still would have got a watch shot. I probably just would have got a little NIL on top of it. I mean, you know, that would have made the watch shot even better for me.
Dude, how much money would that shot have been worth? My God!
Come on, man. You know, that's just timing with everything. You know.
So where is your SB?
It's at home. I got it. It's it's not at home. It's at my mother's new house. They keep it, stuff like that. So it's definitely put up, well kept. They take good care of it.
That's got to be a cool thing to have.
Oh man, no doubt. You know, very few people have that type of moment. That was a crazy moment in my life. You know, very few people get to really go experience that, get up there and talk and do go through the whole SB thing, man. It was crazy. It was a great atmosphere. It was fun.
Oh, absolutely. And that was the last regular season game that Indiana-Kentucky played, I believe.
Yeah, it was last regular season game, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that series restarts again next year. And to not have had that was a travesty to college basketball, I think. But I am so glad to see that series coming back. I'm sure you are as well.
Yeah, I'm happy to see it back. I hate we couldn't get it going while Cal was still there at UK. I think that, you know, just because it was a little friction there with everything. But it's still going to be fun. It's still going to be a great game as well. I know Coach Woody and Mark Pope, they'll have that thing right. So, you know, I just hate it couldn't be, you know, get back to that. But it's fun.
Oh, absolutely. But I'd already said, because how it was set up, the game in Bloomington was not until the last game of the contract. Right. I said all along, Cal will not be at Kentucky for that game. I promise you.
Yeah. He probably knew that going into making that. He probably knew that.
He didn't want no more of that, did he?
Nah, he didn't want to come in there no more.
Is there some satisfaction that you got to do that, though? I mean, that you got to be the one that threw that dart?
Yeah, it's some satisfaction because a lot of guys still talk about it. You know, you watch podcasts. I was watching Anthony Davis or something the other day. He was talking about it on a podcast. It's always fun, man. That's a sports legendary moment. You know, a lot of people remember that. A lot of people talk about that still to this day, man. So it's to be the guy that made that and be a part of that, man, it's big time.
Yeah, you had Dick Vitale and all of that. You talk about timing. Well, that was timing. Number one ranked team, just all of that went into together. That was a lot of ingredients in that stew.
Man, no doubt about it. It was fun, man. That was one of the greatest games, probably greatest collegiate games that you know it's been in recent history.
Who are some of the guys though that you keep in touch with before the TBT thing came around that you still talk to from back in your days?
Well, you know, I pretty much still talk to all my teammates, everybody that came in with Derek, Obviously me and Derek do a podcast. I talk to Victor all the time. I see Victor all the time, Cody. I see all these guys all the time, especially those. I talk to Jordan all the time just because I go back to IU and stuff sometimes. So pretty much everybody, we was a close-knit group. I talk to some more than others, but I pretty much talk to everybody I played with, honestly.
How about our man Verdell, fireman Verdell?
Yeah, Verdell. I talk to him sometimes on social media and stuff. I know Verdell doing this thing. He's married now. He's a fireman and stuff like that. So doing this thing, I talk to him when we do on social media.
I told him I'm going to try during the summer at some point. I would love to try to get up over to his station and do a show from the firehouse.
Yeah, that'd be dope. That'd be dope for sure. That'd be nice.
As long as the call didn't come in.
Right. Long as he ain't got to run up out of there.
So what do you guys got to do now to prepare for the TBT? I know you're still putting the team together. Well, how much do you guys get to practice?
We'll probably practice, a little bit before. We'll probably all meet down in Bloomington or something. Have like a little mini camp. Putting some things together and stuff like that. We're gonna make it fun, man. We're gonna make it where guys want to enjoy this. Guys want to come back and continue to contribute and continue to play in this. So we're gonna make it fun.
Oh, it's going to be a blast. Like I said, I would be shocked if this thing is not full, or it should be sold out with the teams that are going to be there from Purdue and Butler and Indiana, in addition to the other TPT teams that'll be there. But it has got to be a competitive thing, man. Guys want to win this because, like I said, it's winner take all.
No doubt. It's always been competitive, man. You got high-level guys playing. You got fringe guys that's fringe, NBA guys that's right there on the cusp of getting in the league. You got, guys in the G League, got Euro League overseas guys playing in this thing now. And I've been a part of it since like the second year, I want to say. So the second year of TBT existence, I played in it, and I've seen it continuously grow. So it's been to see how far this thing has come, it's been beautiful. It's something.
How many years did you play in it?
I played in it like 4 years, I want to say 3-4 years, somewhere around in there. So to be back a part of it, I probably hadn't played since, I don't know, 2020, 2019, something like that.
Are you going to do any of the coaching?
Nah, probably just, we're gonna have some good qualified coaches. I'll probably be just on the bench, as a GM and stuff like that. We're gonna have a good staff though. We're gonna have a real good staff that's prepared and to win this thing.
Is this going to be? Are these coaches, or these former players that?
These former players that's coaches. That's coaches now. You know what I'm saying? So
I hear you. Well, Michael Lewis, maybe got him. That can come to mind.
We got a lot now. We got Jordan Halls over there. That's on the staff now. We're gonna have some coaches.
And he's just off of playing, man. He stopped. The only reason he stopped playing was to take the job at Indiana.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
He could still be out there. Well, we certainly look forward to it, and I cannot thank you enough, and look forward to having you back on again once we get closer to this and promote this some more.
Man, I'll come back on here and I'll give you guys some roster updates, and we can keep going from there.
Sounds a great one. Christian Watford, appreciate you, my friend.
Man, I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
You betcha. Go out and have yourself a great weekend.
Yes, sir. You too.
Absolutely. Christian Watford joining us here on Indiana Sports Speed Radio to wrap things up for us today. Always fun getting to have fun to end the day and to end the week. And I hope you guys had a great week and can go out and have a good weekend. John, want to make sure where we are on time.
Got about 2 minutes.
Cool. Do you have your Derby horses picked?
So I know the favorites are Sierra Leone and Fierceness. Those are the two high betting favorites. I wish I had the names still pulled up in front of me. I'd give you some of my favorite names.
I know the least this year than I think I've ever known in regards to Derby because it has been so busy. Normally,
there's a couple
like
of interesting names.
break.
Sometimes I like to bet on the horses just with the most fun name. I know there's Society Man, there's Mystic Dan, and I believe my favorite name of this in this year's field is Track Phantom. And again, I don't really have a specific reason. But I
John,
love
we
the name
didn't.
track
Oh my
fancy.
God, John, we didn't pull up the Kirk Hastings clip.
Oh my goodness. Well, we got 2 minutes. Let me see if I can pull some magic out of my hat.
Gotta
real
pull
quick.
that up. Oh my
Maybe
God,
we
I
can
thought
do
about
Kirk
that
Hastings
yesterday.
to wrap us up here. If I can,
Yes.
if I can find it. Let's see what we
This
got.
is a tradition that has gone on for, this will be the 8th year, I think. And
All right, here
I
we
would
go.
be
I've got it.
remiss.
So here we go. Hoof-hearted with Kirk Hastings, and then we'll wrap things up.
Well, the Derby favorite is, of course, Who Smelt It and Dealt It. But this is, I think it's because of this heart has such a big heart, and it's going to be it's not going to be the favorite, but it'll be one that gets a lot of action. His Hearted, Hearted, and we're just going to really pull for him down the stretch. So we'll see how this goes.
How do you think it's going to turn out?
Well, I think it's going to go something a little like this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's a beautiful day at the Derby. We're getting ready to get set, and they're off. Well, Hoof-Hearted is really thinking it up out of the gate, but hopefully they'll pull it out down the stretch. And, man, I really am disappointed. Or Hoof-Hearted is pulling out. It's going past Charmin. Hoof-Hearted is coming down the stretch. Hoof-Hearted is picking up ground on Who Smelt It, They Dealt It. Hoof-Hearted. Unbelievable. It is unbelievable. These people are throwing there's toilet paper everywhere. Hoof-Hearted wins.
Oh, I can hear Justin Kalen laughing in the background. That is from the first year that we were even on, and that we were at Churchill Downs when I did that. He wasn't. That's Kirk Hastings, former Indiana player. And what I had set up was I was going to call a bunch of guys, Bill Mallory, I think called Anthony Thompson. I can't remember who all, some former players. And I just said, all you got to do is give me your Derby favorite. And they all did. Except for when I got to Kirk, and he said, well, can I make up my own horse's name? And I'm like, sure. And I had no idea where it was going. And just played into it, and that's what we got. Instant gold history right there, and almost forgot to play that. I would have been that would have ruined my weekend. But yeah, that was just coming from Kirk. It was so funny to me, and that he just did it, and I had no clue that was coming. So big thanks to Kirk Hastings again for helping us wrap up our Derby portion of the show as the Kentucky Derby gets off tomorrow, the 150th running. Big thanks to Zach Osterman, of course. Big thanks to who else we had? Rick Bozich and Casey Bartley. That's what. From Boiler Upload, and of course, big thanks to Christian Watford, who is putting together Indiana's Assembly Ball TBT basketball team that we'll stay up on. And next week, we'll be back on Monday, of course, to do it all again, to get you up to date on everything that happened over the weekend. Big thanks to you guys. Without you, we have no reason to be here. Of course, John, the producer, for keeping us between the white lines. Until Monday, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.